Books are very important for our growth, but they can also be the cause of us wasting a lot of time. Make sure to watch until the end of this video to see how I ensure they're not wasting my time. We see all these different people around the internet saying how many books they have read, how much hours they spend reading each day, but actually this can be a negative for you if you're not doing it the right way. In the last year I have been following a new approach which focuses more on quality instead of quantity. Let's get into it. Now before we even start reading, let's pick our books. What's different here from the usual approach to reading books is what I call book picking. Let me give you an example. When I was working on my MVP around 1 year ago, what I was doing was picking up books which are only related to MVPs, only related to startups, only related to the niche that I was going after. There were no other books that I was consuming at that time. There were no self-help books, there were no self-improvement books, there were no psychology books, there was nothing else. Only books related to MVPs and my niche. Then after working on my MVP, I wanted to improve my productivity, so I started picking books on productivity. And then when I wanted to do something else, I started picking books related to that specific thing. You get my point. When we have a focused attention towards something, there is no need to get our mind off and start reading about something else and start thinking about something else, because I believe that this will put us off and then we will not be able to give the maximum effort we can because our mind will also be thinking about something else. Let's say that we are building an MVP and at the same time we're reading about how to be a better cook. So if you're constantly trying to work on your MVP and you're getting better at it, and then eventually you spend 2 hours of your day reading about how to be a better cook, would that really be necessary? Do you think that you're really spending your time in the best way possible? I don't think so. Oh, and for those of you who don't know what MVP means, it means minimum viable product. It's something which is necessary if you'd like to start any kind of business, in my opinion. After picking out books, now it's time to read them. But instead of casually going over the whole book in as little days as possible and trying to finish it as fast as we can so that we can go on to the next one and get the next one and get the next one and then brag about on the internet that we have read 1,000 books in a year or something, no, I started to do a different approach. Each time I saw some kind of an insight or some kind of a practical advice inside the book which I really liked and I thought that I can use for my activity, I made sure that I put a covered note on that page so that I can go back to it and reread it. After each of my reading sessions, let's say they were 1 hour, when I was getting close to that 1 hour mark, what I did was stop reading and go back to the covered notes and reread the practical advice that I have seen or the insight that I have seen. And then immediately after my book session had finished, I go to my laptop and I put some kind of a task or some kind of an activity afterwards so that I can apply this practical advice on my MVP in that case. That's why I also stopped reading before going to bed, because I knew that if it was immediately before going to bed, I would not have the motivation to open up my laptop again and put all these different notes and put all these different tasks. And when I finished the whole book, instead of picking up the next one immediately, I went back through the whole book and read all my different covered notes. Maybe I missed some of them and I didn't put a specific task for it. Maybe there is something important that I need to read it twice or maybe read it again and again until I understand it. Because when you're really trying to learn something, it's not just about going over the whole book and doing it as fast as possible. It's also about understanding and really getting to know how you can apply this to your life. It's not just about learning some meaningless things. And speaking of meaningless, Sometimes I had to stop reading a book because I saw that it was not necessary for me at that specific time. As our time becomes more and more valuable, we really need to pick where our hours are going. And if we see that the book is not really giving us the insights that we need, the advice that we need, then why do we continue reading it? And this also applies to podcasts, this also applies to videos that you are watching. If you're not getting the value from it, there is no need to continue. There is no one who will come and say, congratulations, you have now read this book and you are now a better person. That doesn't really matter. All that matters is for you to learn new things that you can apply in your actual life. Remember, at the end of the year, it will not be about the hundreds of books that you have read. It will all be about how many goals you have achieved and what kind of life have you set up for yourself. Now, before I give you a bonus tip about reading books, I want to make sure you're subscribed to this channel. This will help me understand if you like this content or not. Thank you. A bonus tip that I have for you is to read books in English, especially if English is not your primary language. Where I'm from, we don't really have that many books in English, but since I'm primarily using English in my work, I'm using it in my side hustles, I'm using it basically throughout my whole day. I'm watching videos in English and everything is in English basically. So I started to order books from Amazon. I started getting them from bookstores when I was going abroad. I made sure everything that I was consuming was in English so that I can practice the language and learn it even better. Improving our speaking skills is extremely important, so the more we consume in English, the more we'll be able to learn new words that we can use in our day-to-day language, and the better we'll get at speaking with other people or speaking in front of the camera. Although I also fell into this trap, make sure you stop reading books just for the sake of it. At the end of the year, it will be a lot better if you have just read 12 books and you have taken the maximum from them, instead of reading 100 books and at the end of the year, if I ask you the names of 10 of the books, you have hard times even giving me that kind of answer. In the end, books are not the end goal. Books are only helping you achieve your actual goals. Now, speaking of achieving goals, make sure you watch the rest of my videos because it will help you do exactly that. See you there.